Builders Business Blackbelt has been absolutely fantastic for my business. We wouldn't have survived without the help of Mick and Julie.
I'm here to tell you that I've experienced all the lows in business, and I'm here and it's all right. And looking back on it, I'm actually glad they happened. They made me a better person and stronger.
So important to have someone that you trust. But if you had found a builder who had a great website, the fat roller was kind of like hanging over my pajamas. I was kind of like, oh man. And I had crow's feet and like my skin was all dry.
It's just full of gold nuggets all over the place. Thanks, James, for being on the show.
Soda water? What are you talking about? It's like, yeah, I'm going to get drunk on this soda water tonight. Watch me swing from the rafters here. Yeah, no, I'm actually taking a break for a while. I've been feeling pretty good. I've lost a bit of weight, so yeah, I'm on the sparkling waters tonight. But let's go crazy. I'll go toe to toe with you. Yeah. You drink a beer, I'll drink a soda water, and everything will be fine. Oh, all right, great, cool.
Hey, because the car won't run without the petrol, and we don't apply that same logic to.
Okay, now you're a freaking weirdo, all right? You know my books and sequence. If you have a freaking poster of me above your bed, I wouldn't be surprised. So,
yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the holiday.
Yes, we definitely have the let's get moving and let's keep up the momentum and keep moving forward as much and as fast as we can to see where we can go with this.
For me, I feel like I'm fresh in the business. I feel like now that I'm excited again, and like I was when I first started, I'm excited to see where it's going to take us. Just loving the overall the building industry again.
As I said, it's changed my life, not just the business. So it's life-changing.
Probably a bit like Phil, it's changed my life more so than the business. Like I said before, the business is my life, but this has changed my whole attitude towards the building industry. 20 weeks ago, I was ready to jump under a bus. I was sick of it. I've been doing this for so many years. It wasn't getting where I wanted it to be. Now I can see the projection. Everything looks up. Everything looks positive. Yeah, and I'm renewed. I'm ready to start again. Let's see how I'll go in 20 years.
Yep.
Laughing.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Mick, because you're one of the. Like I said, you're the leader. You're the one that did put me on this track, and thank you once again. I know I thank you a lot, but thank you once again.
That's all right. Just before we go, are those fish they very expensive to keep behind you? Do they eat a lot? Do they die very often?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, obviously, it's a YouTube video. I can't afford the fish.
it's a pleasure walking life's path with you, Nick.
I've been with the Builders Business Blackbelt in various forms over the last 14 or 15 years.
One of the biggest ones and one of the main reasons I joined BBB was to do with the problem of coding.
This is a complete mindset change, you know, of how things are done, what should be the normal. The flow-on effect from that through the business and through your own personal life has been, you know, in just a few, 12 weeks has been amazing.
Consistent caring, I think, is what makes this group rather special. I'm so privileged to be part of it.
And that's one of the things that we look forward to, or we used to before COVID anyway.
So when people say more turnover will make my business healthier, I say, liar! No, you gotta bitch slap people and wake them up. Because, listen.
This is the Builders Business Success Podcast for builders who want to attract more quality clients who aren't price-focused, eliminate cash flow pressure, and get paid for every quote. Here's your host, Mick Hawes.
Hello, listener or viewer, depending on how you're consuming this here podcast. episode 62 of the Builders Business Success Forum. I wonder if it's your first time. Oh, we've got Hugh. He's live already, so he knows the drill. So if you are watching live, which you must be really on the ball, Hugh, we only just hit the button. Put in hashtag live. That'd be very helpful. If you watch the replay, you can put in hashtag replay. But if this is your first ever podcast or episode of the Builders Business Success podcast, which it isn't, of Hugh's. Hugh's been listening to them, watching them, commenting on them for a long, long time. But if it is your first one, the go is that I'm just trying to share with you, if you're an established builder, ideas and principles and tactics and processes and procedures that can eliminate the common problems that face the big majority of all builders, and they can be very, very costly. Quite often it's a simple fix, and the one thing that we make sure of is that we just don't talk about theory on the podcast. It is the results of having discussions with our Builders Business Blackbelt members, looking at and listening to and unpacking their problems and challenges and opportunities, and figuring out better ways to deal with it, to eliminate the problems, to take advantage of the opportunity. So none of it is theory. It's all been put into practice. It's all been tested. It's all been tested in different states in the country, and in fact over in New Zealand as well. We've got members over in New Zealand in our Blueprint program, and regional areas, like the environment doesn't matter. And that kind of brings me a little bit to the topic of this particular episode, and it's optimism versus pessimism. And one of the things that I hear a lot having conversations with builders is that might be okay there, but that won't work here in my region, in my environment. And it's funny that the same objections that we get would be, say, someone who's in Melbourne would say, well, that might work out in the country, or it might work somewhere else, but it won't work here. And then the people that are out in the regional areas say, well, that might work in the big cities, but that won't work in these country towns because they're too small. So it's got nothing to do with the area, the region, the people, all of that sort of thing. It's got to do with what's in between your ears. So that's the topic of conversation for this particular episode. We're also going to do a Q&A. The question that was raised this week was, how do I get my prospects and clients to listen to me? So we're going to be unpacking that little chestnut as well. And we've got an idea of the week as well. Otherwise, there'd be no point in having a floating light bulb. If we didn't have an idea, what would be the point in having a bloody floating light bulb? So we've got one, so we've got to have an idea. So we're going to be covering an idea of the week as well. So let's fly into this. Now, this direction, this focus of this episode was inspired by a Facebook comment. I don't remember the dude's name. I think it might have been Ron, but I could be wrong. I know he's from New Zealand anyway. And it was based on a comment on a Facebook ad that we had. And the Facebook ad was just basically talking about our qualified process, or our quality client pathway, as we sometimes call it. And I was just talking about there is a step-by-step process. It's proven, blah, 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 to be able to eliminate time wasters and the price checkers and bargain hunters, and a process that will show you what you need to do to be paid for all of the quotes that you do in the future. And old mate jumped into the comments and he said something very, very intelligent. And he'd obviously thought about it a lot, and he'd done a lot of research, and he knew what he was talking about, I think, because his comment was, "What a load of bullshit." That was his comment. And I replied and sort of said, "Oh, well thought out reply because it was funny that it happened just after a few days after I read some other post somewhere, and it was talking about, isn't it funny how, somebody who goes to 6 years of school specialising in a certain area, and they dedicate their life to it, and then they go and develop skills and learn research, learn how to do research, and they then go and test and trial things and do experiments, and then have them peer reviewed, so it's not just theory, and have people agree on it and all of this sort of stuff, and they test it all and pressure test it and stress test it, and then they deliver what they've found. Okay, and they've basically dedicated their life to studying these things and coming up with some amazing answers. And then some other genius, their answer is, what a load of shit, or that's bullshit. And that kind of resonated with me with old mate Rob, and I apologise, Rob, if your name isn't Rob or Ron, it's something like that. That kind of resonated with me, and then I started to think, why would you say something like that? Because it's a constant source of amazement, amusement, curiosity as to why someone would fight for their limitations. So in other words, I'm talking about a process that fixes a very costly and very common problem in the building industry. Like every builder you talk to, if they are doing free quotes, say there are many, many, many hours where they're not being paid, they're doing these free quotes for people, and they may not even get the job. And very few builders get every single quote that they do. So there's got to be a fair percentage of the quotes they do that they just don't get remunerated for. And we've got a process that if you follow the process, you do get paid for that, and you get a better quality client, and everything works out better. They're much more prepared to pay a premium price if you follow this process. And I started to think, why would you try to hold on to a fundamentally flawed process that robs you of your time, robs you of your money, robs you of being compensated for your knowledge and your intellectual property and your experience? Why would you want what I was talking about to be wrong? And it just got me thinking about this whole process. And it's not the first time somebody has made a comment like that. I mean, whenever you've got an opinion on the interwebs, some other keyboard warrior is going to have an opposite opinion. And I wasn't really sure whether old mate Ron or Rob or whatever his name was just a troll and trying to get a rise out of me, or whether he genuinely thought I didn't know what I was talking about. I came to the conclusion that he thought I didn't know what I was talking about because he came to some conclusion about, the first point is you're Australian and the building industry in New Zealand is very, very different, and you wouldn't last 12 months in New Zealand, and all of this other rubbish he went on with. And like, he just completely misses the point. It's got nothing to do with where you are. People are the same skin bags full of emotion wherever you are around the world, and learning how to communicate and understand with them and build rapport with them and offer them value. That works no matter what industry you're in and no matter what part of the world you're in. So, the question is, why would you fight for those limitations? So I thought I'd talk a little bit about this and get you thinking. What are yours? What are the limitations that you have in your thinking that may well be costing you in your building business? So what do you think your limitations are? I'll give you a few examples in a sec. And how do they hold you back? So what are the limits in your philosophy, in your thinking? And how are they holding you back? What are they costing you in your business and potentially in your life. A couple of classic examples. You know, the obvious one is you can't charge for quotes. There's still a bunch of builders out there that say, you're an idiot, when they see a post where I mention that. You're an idiot because if you charge for quotes, you'll never have a customer. If you haven't got a customer, you haven't got a business. Well, I agree with the second bit. You've got to have a customer to have a business. But I find it difficult to agree with the first bit, that you can't charge for, we call them in black belt, proposals rather than quotes. You know, it's a different mindset when you use different language. But the bottom line is that a black belt member builder will talk to their prospect, show them the process, and say there is an investment for this. You know, it could be anywhere from $1,500 to $15,000. We've had black belt members charge $15,000 to put proposals together for, you know, larger projects. And when you follow the process, the prospect goes, that makes total sense. That is totally the best way of doing it. I can completely see the value that I'll get out of that, so let's do it that way. And we often get feedback from black belt members saying that the customer said, I don't know why all builders don't do it the way you do it. Hugh has made a comment, says, still stuck in backwards thinking and not charging a fee for a site visit has cost me on a recent site visit and dilemma with prospect. So that regressive thinking, you know, and not following the process Hugh is talking about ends up, you know, with the same problem that everybody gets. You go out and you do your free quote, whether if it's a small job, you know, you go out and have a look at it. If it's a larger job, you start to talk about the project in the quality client pathway. There's two different pathways. If your jobs are those smaller jobs, you can go out but you charge a site visit fee before you even arrive. You get paid before the money's in the bank before you go to the property. So black belt members quite often do that for the smaller jobs. For the larger jobs, they will meet with the person. But the next step to start to put the proposal together, which is the one that takes all of the time and the knowledge and the skill, that is paid for before you start to put pen to paper. So if your thinking is, well, you can't charge for quotes, how is that holding you back? It's holding you back for starters by focusing on price. And when you focus on price, you will inevitably focus your prospect on price, and that gives you more evidence that people make decisions based on price. But it's not the truth. It's just because you believe it, you are causing it to happen. We know this because black belt members believe that they have value to offer, to put in front of a prospect, to say, here is all of this value you will get for investing in a professionally prepared proposal. You will avoid these problems and you will gain these benefits. And people go, sounds great, let's do it. But it starts with that optimism, that belief in that's the right thing to do. If you go, well, that won't work, that's bullshit, as my good old mate from New Zealand says, you've just chosen the outcome. Like, you'll never get paid and you'll be wasting a whole lot of time, and your clients won't be as high quality as they possibly could be. What's another one? You must be price competitive, because everyone base their decisions on price. I mean, I kind of have just addressed that, so I won't harp on it, but that's what many people believe, is everyone makes decisions based on price. It's just not the truth. The big majority of the population will always make decisions based on value, not price. The only time they default to price is when there is no obvious differentiation. Is that the right word? Is that a good word? I don't know. We'll just call that. There's no obvious difference in the value proposition. If they can't see the value, obviously we'll go for the lesser one. But even if they suspect that there is more value over here than over here, the majority of people will go for that more expensive one because they believe it's got more value attached to it. Another one of these optimism versus pessimism changes we can make is no one cares or can do a better job than me in my business. And so the business owner ends up being the bottleneck. Everything has to come through them. They don't believe that their team cares as much as they do, so they don't actually create the environment to allow the team to show that they care just as much, if not more, than the business owner. And so that thought process holds you back. Good help's hard to find, or it's hard to find good subbies. If that is your belief, you will find evidence to prove that you are right. And for every one of those things, for every builder out there that believes you can't charge for a quote, you've got to be price competitive, no one cares as much as me, like you can't get good help and things like that, I could put a bunch of Builders Business Blackbelt members in front of you to say the exact opposite. That, you know, there's lots of great quality customers around. There's lots of great quality team members around. When you create the environment for them to flourish, it's amazing. I'll never do a free quote ever again because they know that the paid proposal pathway is the best way to go for them, and particularly, and this is the main motivation, is it's better for the client. And that's what you need to understand, that this process is better for the client, and the client or the prospect sees it and becomes a client because they see the value in that pathway themselves. Old mate Rob, Ron, whatever his name is, says you don't, this was part of the comment as well, you don't need a mentor/coach to have a successful business. And he's absolutely right. You don't need to have a mentor or a coach to have a successful business. I will say, however, that they are very, very rare. My evidence is pretty much every builder I speak to has problems. They're either got not enough work, not enough team, no time because of lack of systems and procedures and management, and or problems with the staff because of lack of leadership, problems with cash flow because of the absence of a proper measurement and management system for finances. So, you know, my question to old mate is why does every builder I talk to have these similar issues with cash flow, time, not enough work, too much work, but no profit? I mean, that's another classic. And my suspicion is that he just thinks that he's got a good business because all of those problems are common. All builders have them, so there's nothing you can do about it. Therefore, I have a successful business. That's my suspicion. I will bet that Rob or Ron's business, must find out his name, has many of those problems. I'll bet, because I haven't found any builders who make profit according to the profit first system. Of course, builders make profit according to the profit and loss sheet, but we've talked about that in other episodes. There's a big difference between the two. I'll bet he's not making proper profit. It's just that fictional profit that shows up on the profit and loss sheet. I bet he has staffing problems. I bet he has customer problems. I bet he has very little time for himself, perhaps doesn't go away on holidays, can't leave the business, doesn't have people in the business to be able to look after it for himself. So if you think that all of these problems are normal and they can't be fixed, that's a successful business. there's nothing you can do about that. I just accept that they are that goes along with the territory, and it's just not true. But all of this can be fixed if you move from pessimism and believing in all of that to believing in what is possible, and hanging around with and starting to talk to people that know and have proven and have implemented this stuff and know that it works. And so I think if old mate thinks that's all, you can't fix those problems, obviously from his perspective, I am selling snake oil. I'm selling you a lie. I'm selling you something that isn't possible, and for the purposes of my own wealth and making myself rich and ripping people off. That's why I'm doing it. That's my motivation, I think, according to old mate's mindset. The only response that I have to that is that might be the case, but I must be a really, really good influencer or bullshitter or something like that, because we've got people in black belt that have been around for 12, 13, 15 years. They've been around even before our black belt program came into existence. We've got people who joined at the very start of black belt about 6 or 7 years ago that are still in the program. Why do they continue to stay in the program and participate and pay their membership fee and all of that sort of stuff, if I'm bullshitting, if this stuff doesn't work? Surely it would take, if you're around for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, you could figure out where the flaws are in the process, where the holes are. Surely you'd know by then that it didn't work. Don't insult the black belt members by thinking that they're slow learners and they haven't picked that up. So if this has resonated with you, I'd like for you to reach out and have a chat with us. And any of those problems that are in your building business, they can be addressed. There is processes to be able to fix those problems in your building business. All you need to do is reach out. If you're watching this on Facebook, there's a link in the comments. You just click it and schedule a quick chat. We can find out where you are, where you want to be, what's in your way, and we can point you in the right direction really quickly to the resources that you need to get where you want to go at the pace you want to go. So the solution is going to be totally suitable for you, where you want to go and where you are. Hit the button or hit the link. If you're watching this on the blog, that's the word I'm trying to think of, there'll be a button underneath the videos. You just hit that same thing. If you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify or something like that, I know a lot of people just consume the audio-only version. You can just go to our website, buildersbusinessblackbelt.com.au, and there's a schedule a call button somewhere. They're all over the place on the website, and we'd just love to have a chat with you, learn more about where you want to head and what the problem is. And the beauty of that, because we talk to builders all of the time, rather than just assuming that we know what the common and costly problems are and they stay like that forever, we're talking to people all the time. And the landscape is shifting, particularly due to COVID and shortages of labour and shortages of materials and costs rising, and all of these additional problems are now being put on the builder's plate. We're coming up with solutions to those as well, but we can only do that when we talk to you and learn what the problems are from your perspective, and we can modify what we do, find solutions for you. So let's get on a call. Let's have a conversation about what the problems are in your building business so we can go ahead and fix them. Okay, Q&A time. The question that was asked was, how do I get my prospects/clients to listen to me? It's a frustration. It's very common that there are problems on building projects because of miscommunications. The builder would say, but I told you that. And then you get into a he said, she said, and blah, blah, blah. The big majority of problems in most businesses, not just builders, building businesses is just communication. And I believe communication skills are one of the, if not the most valuable skill for a manager or an owner of a business, anyone who's dealing with people. It's one of the most valuable skills for your personal life and any area of your professional life. In fact, every area of your business, from the marketing through to talking to prospects, talking to clients, talking to team members, talking to suppliers, talking to subcontractors, talking to past clients, communicating with past clients, your ability to communicate at a high level and have great listening skills is absolutely massive. And I noticed Matt is with us. Matt with or without the hat. Not sure whether he's wearing a hat today, but if he's Matt wearing a hat, we call him Matt with a hat. If he's not, we call him Matt without the hat. It's a system we've got. And he's watching live, and he's one of our Black Belt members, and he's been sending me some messages through our base camp communication about some people that he's been working with on a new project. And he's the lights are coming on with Matt, and he's saying how powerful it is building the relationship with his prospects and then eventually clients by just focusing on trying to understand from their perspective, which is the essence of excellent listening, is first seek to understand. So the resources that I would suggest to answer this question to help you is Habit 5 from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Just go straight to Habit 5. First seek to understand, then to be understood. And there's another book, I'm not sure whether you should still be able to get a copy of it somewhere, I'm sure. It's by Hugh Mackay, or Mackay, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I think he likes Mackay. And the book is called Why People Don't Listen. But it's the same premise. And he talks about people tend to listen to those who listen to them. So outstanding communication comes from if you take responsibility to listen and understand from the perspective of the person that you're listening to first. Then there's a great possibility that you will be listened to. But speaking louder, repeating yourself, pointing your finger, all of those sorts of things, so to get your message across, don't work. First seek to understand. Learn about what pushes their buttons and what their preferences are from their perspective first. And then you'll find that they will want to know from your perspective, your knowledge base, your intellectual property, your experience. They'll want your advice, but you first got to listen. It's light bulb time. It's idea of the week. The idea of the week is amazing. You might not think so when I say it, but it is because it's amazing from the perspective that it can make a profound difference to every area of your business. And that is time block, learning and practicing communication skills. And I'm suggesting that you do it daily. Because if you do it daily, your head is in that space every day. You're reminding yourself how important outstanding communication is. So one of the things I'd be doing is suggesting that you get both of those books and time block time every single day to read some of that sort of stuff and look for opportunities to implement it. I would suggest that you always be consciously aware to prepare yourself and your focus and your purpose when you walk onto site, your energy and your ability to understand from other people's perspectives. If that's your focus when you walk on site, rather than walking on site starting to tell people things, ask people things, makes a big difference. So preparation before walking on site, preparation before you answer a phone call or make a phone call so you know what the objective is. Preparation for what the objective is for a meeting. So always prepare before these things mentally so you know what your focus is. And prepare for any conversation you might have with a team member or a client or a prospect before you have it. So you know what your focus is to get the best outcome, and that is first seek to understand, then to be understood. That will make the big difference. So what's the takeaway from this episode of Builders Business Success Podcast? To me, It is just be, and in my notes I've got be, underline, exclamation mark. So behave in a manner that shows that you are optimistic. Be optimistic, okay? Not just think optimistically. Be optimistic. Create a great example and a great energy for everybody around you. That is your prospects, your clients, your team, your subbies, your suppliers, everybody around you. If you've got that optimistic energy. The thing is, folks, you will feel better and everybody else around you will feel better. So you are really controlling your environment. You're taking charge of making sure that anywhere where you are is far more optimistic, enthusiastic, positive, solution-oriented, and you watch what happens to everybody around you. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it's got you thinking. What are the limitations in your thinking? How is it holding you back? I want you to think about that. But moreover, I want you to reach out and talk to us about it. Tell us what they are, because we can point you in the direction of solutions. It'll save you a ton of time. It'll save you a lot of unnecessary wasted time, frustration. You'll see a lot more opportunities sooner. But we just need to have that conversation. So as I said, all you need to do, if any of this makes sense and you want to have a chat about any of it so we can point you in the right direction and get you started on this pathway sooner, just click the link in the comments below. Depending on where you watch it, there'll be a button underneath the video. If you're watching it on Facebook, there'll be a link in the comments. If you're watching it on YouTube, there'll be a link in the description. If you're watching it on the blog, there'll be a button under the thing. Or you can go to this here website here called buildersbusinessblackbelt.com.au. And as you can see, there's a schedule a call button there. And there, if you're listening on the audio only version, you cannot see where I'm pointing. But it'll make sense when you go to the website and you'll see those schedule a call buttons. We can't wait to talk to you. We can't wait to learn about what might be in your way from your perspective, and we can't wait to put you in front of some solutions and see the big shit-eating grin on your face when you see the pathway forward to eliminating those problems from your building business once and for all. Look forward to that moment. We'll be back again next Tuesday. It is Tuesday, yes. We'll be back again next Tuesday for another episode of Builders Business Success Podcast. I look forward to being with you then. I'm Mick Hawes from Builders Business Blackbelt. That is all for this episode. I've enjoyed it immensely.